My title is Labor Extension Coordinator. What I do is do non-credit programming for unions, for union members, for workers, for workplace organizations, for community organizations, and I have to say I don't do PowerPoint, so this is my first. So bear with me. Okay, so here's the question. Why are unions in the crosshairs right now? And in particular, why public sector unions? Why, after the last November's election, are we seeing a rash of anti-union legislation in what used to be union stronghold states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, just to name a few? And why do the Republicans who have gained control of the legislatures and the governor's mansions in these states, why do they want to either seriously restrict public sector workers' rights or eliminate them altogether, as they've done in Ohio? So I'm going to try to answer that question in 10 minutes. Okay, so what do unions do? Let's actually take a look at what the things are that unions do that might put them in the crosshairs, okay? So they organize. They organize new members, right? Look inside that triangle. You can see that in the triangle, in the union, are members, because members are the union. The union isn't something outside, it's inside. It's the members in a workplace or a group of places. So unions organize new members to provide them with the resources and expertise that they need to bring a union into their workplace. They also organize their current members. They organize the people inside the triangle to be actively involved in the work that the union does, to bargain, to enforce a contract, to represent its members. So, unions organize. Now, I've just said that they also represent their members. And how do they do this? They do this by, first of all, bargaining a contract. And I want to emphasize the word bargain. I've been on my union bargaining committee for about, 4 or 5 times. And we go to the table with what we want, but we don't leave that table at the end with a contract that has everything in it that we want. But what we have the right to do is sit down with the university and talk about, bargain over the conditions under which we work. So, we bargain the contract, not worth the paper it's printed on or the website it's posted on if you don't enforce it. And we do that using our grievance procedure and using worker activism in the workplace. And we also solve workplace problems that aren't necessarily covered by the contract. So here's another question. Where do the rights to organize and represent come from? Well, for private sector workers, those of us who work for private employees, it comes from something called the National Labor Relations Act, which was passed in 1935. It gave us the right to act together, to organize, and then to bargain. But for public sector workers, those of us who work for the state or cities or towns, our right to organize and to bargain comes from state laws, which means it varies state by state. In Massachusetts, we have a law allowing all public sector workers to organize and bargain and setting out the program for how that happens. Not all states have them, and state law can cover very different groups of workers. Some states only cover public safety, police and fire. Others cover all workers. So state laws passed by state legislatures give me and my colleagues here at the university the right to bargain. So I want to go back to that contract I talked about, because that's the cornerstone. That's what we bargain over. So what's in a contract? Well, there's a lot, and contracts vary depending on who the employer is and how strong the union is. Contracts talk about wages, starting salaries, hourly rates, raises, merit, piecework. Contracts address benefits, our health care, our dental, our vision, our pensions, our child care, our wellness benefits, or the lack thereof. Contracts address paid leave, vacations, sick days, personal days. You know that at the moment, there is no right that workers have to take paid sick days. That's a piece of legislation that's slowly moving its way through Congress. It was championed by Ted Kennedy. Contracts deal with hours, the regular work week, holidays, lunch and break time, overtime, schedules, flex time, other general conditions of employment. And here's a key one. How can we be disciplined? How can we hold the employer to having a good reason to discipline us? Without a union, you are an employee at will. That means if I'm a Red Sox fan, which I am, and you are a Yankee fan, and you insist on coming to work with a Yankee cap on, I can let you go. I can fire you. Being a Yankee fan is not what the law calls a protected category. But a union would hold an employer to just cause for discipline. Other conditions of employment, discrimination, health and safety concerns. Mostly what unions do is give workers a voice on the job, and they do this through a grievance process, through stewards, our representatives in the workplace, through committees. And finally, what a union contract gives a union worker is respect and dignity on the job. It is an attempt to alter the imbalance of power that exists in a workplace. So let's go back to our little diagram here. What do unions do? They organize, they represent. But here's the third part of the triangle, and that is that they take action. They take legislative action in support of all sorts of pieces of public policy, right? Like the 40-hour week, the 8-hour day, the weekend, minimum wage laws, child labor laws, health and safety laws. They take political action. They educate candidates, they endorse candidates, they work for candidates, and then they attempt to hold them accountable once they're elected. And they work in the community, with the community, in coalitions, to work on a range of issues: housing, public safety, support for the public schools, green justice issues. UMass here is a heavily unionized campus. In fact, it is the largest unionized employer, I believe, in the Commonwealth. So I'm going to just... In New England, excuse me, I stand corrected. So let me just tell you what the unions are that represents the workers that you encounter every day on this campus. AFSCME, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, 1776. These are your food service people, your maintenance people, your building trades. Graduate Employee Organization, a part of UAW 2322, your graduate researchers and teachers. The police have 2 units on campus. The faculty and librarians belong to the Massachusetts Society of Professors, part of the Mass Teachers Association. The postdoc researchers just won union representation. They're bargaining a contract. The RAs in the dorms, the student RAs, have a union. My union, the Professional Staff Union, and the University Staff Association, representing all the administrative staff, the clerical and technical staff on this campus, a heavily unionized campus. But unions don't act alone. Each individual union on this list does not act by itself. We are part of a larger labor movement. So local unions are part of national or international unions, which voluntarily join together with other national unions to form organizations like the AFL-CIO or Change to Win. And this same opportunity to work with other unions happens on the state level and on the local level through what we call central labor councils. And our local unions can participate in the state fed and can participate in central labor councils. But we're also part of a larger social justice movement. This includes workers' organizations like workers' centers, like Jobs with Justice, like the Coalitions on Safety and Health. It includes organizations representing the interests of various groups of people, like students, USAS and SLAP here on campus, immigrants, women, people of color, farmers. Farmers drove their tractors around the rotunda in Wisconsin in support of the workers inside. Tenants, poor people, LGBTQ people, people of faith. Groups working around issues, environmental issues, health care, reproductive rights, and Phenom, which you've heard about. And why are we targeted? Why are unions in the crosshairs? Because unions don't stand alone. and because unions interfere with the ability of employers to do whatever they want in the workplace, whenever they want it, to whomever they want to. And because unions give voice to the needs of working people and their families in their communities, not just in the workplace. Because unions have the resources, their members and their allies to influence public policy and put limits on unbridled greed. So, why now? Why the public sector? I think we've been answering that all day. Why now is that the Republicans can do it. They control a number of state legislatures and governors' mansions. They are able to run the neoliberal agenda, which says get rid of everything that interferes with free markets, with our ability to do whatever we want to do. And why teachers in particular? What's the gender makeup of teachers' unions? Who are our elementary school teachers? Women. So it's not incidental that they in particular have come in the crosshairs, where we put immigrants and women and people of color in the crosshairs because they are the most vulnerable, and there is the assumption that they stand alone. Well, they don't stand alone, we stand together, and this is our moment too, to stand up, to stand together, and to fight back. Thank you.